Welcome to She Trusts Herself, the podcast for women who are learning to trust themselves, honor their inner voice, and choose themselves without guilt. I'm your host, Tashleem, author, guest speaker, and certified human design reader. Together, we'll explore overcoming self-doubt, building deep self-trust, personal growth, and stepping into the next version of yourself with confidence. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to speak to a part of my life that I usually don't discuss, and that is motherhood. I became a mum January last year, so 2025, and it has been an incredible journey, and it's definitely tested me in ways that I could have never imagined, including opening my heart up so much as well. I'm not going to talk about my birth story or pregnancy because I feel that there are a lot of different platforms for that. But what I want to speak to is how I entered motherhood. And that was with an intention of not losing my sense of self. And it's something that I have fought very hard for since my little man has come earthside. Before I fell pregnant, I saw a lot of quotes that said that women will lose their identity for up to 5 years. And when I read that, it made me feel so angry because firstly, I thought, why is this acceptable? Why are we accepting this as the norm? Why are there not systems in place to help women navigate postpartum, becoming a mother and incorporating that role into their life? Why is there not that support there? I wanted to challenge that norm, and I have been on my own personal development journey for quite a long time now. It's coming closer to a decade, which is absolutely incredible. And I feel that that definitely helped me navigate the transition from being my own person, being a independent-ish female, to becoming a mum and having a dependent relying on you. I have discovered that your brain is always in a million different places and your heart's always on the outside once they arrive. At least that's been my experience. And I want to share a few of the things that motherhood has shown me about myself. It has been a mirror for better or worse, and it's made me definitely look at myself and how I invest my time, energy, and even money. There are some things that I no longer tolerate, and it's made me really affirm who I am because I don't have the luxury that I did before in terms of leaky energy. I definitely value my time and energy a heck of a lot more than I ever did before. And that's just because it feels like such a valuable resource. At the beginning, it felt quite scarce because I went to being able to do what I wanted when I wanted for the most part. And then I became a mum and I went, oh, I don't have that luxury anymore. If I want to go out, then I need to make sure that our baby's cared for or take him with me. And there was just a whole lot of other decisions. It wasn't as easy as deciding, oh, I just need to go down to the shops and grab something. I will just quickly get dressed, jump in the car, off I go. It then became is our little man sleeping? When will he wake up? Does he need a nap change? I need to pack his bag. Is he going to be okay going to the shops? All of these other things. So what used to be a 2 or 3 point checklist for getting something done then became 20. And adjusting to that was quite challenging at first. And personally, the thing that I have definitely struggled with at the beginning, I felt like I had a decent amount of time when our little man would sleep for a few hours during the day. I thought, great, I can do a workout. I can do something for myself. At that point in time, it was doing my human design certification or writing some of a book, which I've currently placed on hold. And then when I returned to work, which was pretty much full time, everything changed. I realized that I really had limited time because I wanted to make sure that I spent time with our little man, that he knew he was loved, and the time that I spent with him was quality over quantity, seeing as I was back at work pretty much full time. So to me, that meant not being on my phone, not being distracted by other things, just being present with him and giving him my undivided attention as much as I could, which then meant less time for starting work on my business and doing things for myself, such as self-care. And even during the workday, I would find that my brain was very scattered. The mental load felt quite overwhelming some days. And it would get to the end of a work day and I would just feel very, very tired and depleted. And even if I did have a little bit of time to work on my business or do something that constitutes self-care, like going for a walk or a workout, whatever it may be, I just felt like I didn't have the energy there, or I felt guilty that I wasn't going and picking up our little man straight away from daycare. It was quite a challenge trying to navigate that. I have finally come full circle with it and accepted that I just don't have the time that I did beforehand, and I can either try and fight and get frustrated at that fact, or I can accept it, which doesn't mean that I have to like it. It just means that I can accept it and then go, okay, rather than constantly getting frustrated that I have 2 hours instead of the 4 that I may have had previously, I can just learn to use those 2 hours way more intentionally. And that's what I've started doing. People have gone, oh, you get so much done. How do you do it? And for me, it's no real secret. It's stubbornness mixed with just being really intentional with how I'm using my time. And do I still doom scroll and sometimes like stare at a wall, metaphorically speaking? Absolutely, because there are days where my brain is fried and I just have to concede to myself that, yes, I may have the time right now, but I do not have the mental capacity whatsoever to be working on something, and then I'll do something self-care related or spend some extra time with my hubby and our little man and our dogs. It's just trying to find that new status quo rather than trying to bring back what's gone. And there was definitely a lot of grief around that, a lot of fighting that, because I just wanted time to do things. And I definitely have heard myself say a lot of time, if I just had more time, I could do more. I have this expectation of myself to be performing and having the same output that I did before I became a mom, which just isn't going to work. And I may do in a few years when he's a little bit older, but for right now, I just don't have the capacity for that same output. And that's then meant that I needed to reevaluate my boundaries. And for me, that's meant saying no more often. And it's not because I want to hurt people's feelings or anything like that. It's just I'm full of how I use my time now. I value it so much more than I did previously because I know that it's a valuable resource that I need to treasure and use accordingly. And that's meant turning down invitations to family events. Previously, the people pleaser me, which melted away since becoming a parent, is I would feel really guilty for saying no, and I would brace myself for the comments that may or may not come. And I'd think through all of that and go, oh, it's just easier to go and be miserable than it is to sit it out because I'm not feeling it. Whereas now I go, okay, I'll have a think about it. I'll put myself down as tentative. And when the day comes, then I'll make a decision as to whether I go. And that has been very freeing. Of course, if it's for larger events such as Christmas or birthday celebrations, etc., then I'll be more inclined to say yes. But again, it just depends on how much I've got going on as to whether I feel comfortable spending that time or investing my time and energy in that way, or if it's best spent doing something for myself. And that's just because I don't enjoy feeling frustrated or resentful. Frustration for me, looping it back in with human design, is my emotional red flag. So when I'm feeling very frustrated, it means I'm doing something out of obligation, an old people-pleasing habit, or something that I feel like I should be doing rather than something that I actually want to do. When I feel frustration, I feel it all through my body. It makes me feel very tense. It's also something that I feel myself saying a lot of, and then it tends to put me, if I feel frustrated for too long, then that sometimes transforms into anger or them becoming reactive rather than responding to things, which I also don't enjoy. So if I can catch myself before I put myself into that state, then I'm going to do it because it's better for me, it's better for my relationships, it's just better for everyone. And I've also really learned to say no without giving a reason. My main thought process behind that is when I say yes to something, I don't write an essay saying why I've accepted it or said yes. I just go, yep, I'll be there. So it makes sense that saying no, you use that same application. You just say no without giving a reason. But somewhere along the way, most of us have felt obligated to provide a reason why we're saying no to something. I really want to stop doing that, because if someone says no to me, I don't go, oh, okay, but why can't you come? I just go, okay, thank you so much for letting me know. And it's the same with the yes. I don't go, oh, but can you just tell me why you've said yes to this? It doesn't bother me either way. I just hope that they're doing what they want to do. And I'd hope that people feel the same way. If I am saying yes to something, then I want to make sure that I genuinely want to be there and I'm present and not wishing I was doing or being somewhere else, because that's not fair to the people that I'm around either. Another thing that I have been navigating that I haven't necessarily touched on is postpartum depression and also some anxiety. So earlier on in my postpartum journey, I definitely experienced high levels of anxiety, which I self-managed and kind of swept under the rug a little bit, because I thought, oh, other people probably have it harder and I can just work through it. I've got personal development tools that I can use and self-manage. And I did for the most part. It got to a point where I didn't necessarily want to leave the house. The thought of it just felt so overwhelming with a 3-month-old and 2 border collies. Just even the thought of going for a walk around the block weighed me down. And I thought it's just too stressful to try and navigate. I said to myself one day, you literally flew halfway across the world to Canada by yourself, yet the thought of leaving the house terrifies you. And from there, I added it to my to-do list to go for a walk around the block each day with our little man and my 2 dogs. For the most part, I did it. There were some days where I really enjoyed it, and there were other days where it just felt like 20 minutes of stress. The main thing was I got it done and I left the house and I thought, okay, it's starting to feel a little bit better. The walls aren't caving in as much as what they were. But that was definitely very hard to navigate. And there were people that I shared that feeling with, and it was interesting to see what their responses were. From an eldest daughter perspective too, I observed that because I tend to be quite strong and capable and put together, that there wasn't really many offers of help. That felt a little bit disheartening at times, especially when you look at social media and you see that people have a village around them supporting them. And it wasn't necessarily like a comparison or anything like that, but I thought, man, I just wish I had something like that where I didn't have to ask. And I've come to realize, instead of wishful thinking and hoping that people could read my mind, I just need to ask if I need help and admit when I'm not okay and see what happens then, because at least then I've made people aware of it, and then it's up to them if they can offer assistance, or I could just tell them what they need and remove my ego from it. That has helped somewhat, and it's still definitely something that I am working on. And then with the postpartum depression, that has definitely been challenging. I definitely have my good days and my bad days. Even with having personal development tools, I think it's definitely helped me navigate it, but it's also given me the awareness to go, okay, I actually don't feel like myself. I feel like something's wrong, and I've reached out and sought help, and I've started working through stuff, which has been incredible. And if you are struggling, I highly recommend speaking to someone if you feel comfortable. It doesn't even have to be a trained professional if you don't feel comfortable going to that stage. But full transparency, this is the first time I've ever gone and seen a professional for assistance. Usually I try and self-manage, but it got to a point, even with my tools and my awareness, I can't manage this by myself now. I'm just so stuck in my head that I need to speak to someone that's removed from the situation and just see what happens. And even just having a couple of conversations with the person I'm seeing now, they have been absolutely incredible. And I've really moved through a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily realize was there. It's just interesting what comes up when you go through certain changes in your life. And I sort of had a mini identity shift when I got married and took my hubby's last name. And then becoming a mum just was an absolute game changer. If you are navigating that identity shift or crisis, however you would like to phrase it, just know that there is support there if you need it, and you're not alone. And it's okay to feel what you're feeling, and there's help there. So if you are feeling stuck or helpless, reach out for support, see what you can find, and keep trying until you find the right thing. I spoke to someone before I started seeing the person that I'm seeing now and the comments that they had, it was very judgmental, very insensitive. My personal favorite, and I put that in air quotes, was you and your husband are going to divorce in the next couple of years. And that was when I went in and said to the individual, hey, I feel like I've got postpartum depression. And just some of the comments that they came out with left me shaking my head. And I thought, oh, I'm glad I'm at a stage in my life where I know that that kind of behavior isn't acceptable and I don't need to go back and be around that. I can go, no, thank you. You're not the person for me, and find someone else, which is what I did. If that's where you're at as well, just know that not everyone is like that. And please don't let it dishearten you, because you deserve to be heard, to seek that help, have that guidance that you need as well. It's definitely been an interesting ride becoming a mum. It's something that takes up a lot of my time, which I love. I absolutely love our little man. He's filled a piece of my heart that I never knew needed to be filled. But as soon as he was born, my heart was just a puzzle piece that slid right into place. I'm so glad that he's here, and I've done the inner work to make sure I can be the best mum that I can be for him, and I'll continue to do the work. And that I've got human design that's helped me figure out what needs to change and has given me the strength and the courage to set those boundaries, have those conversations, and start rebuilding that self-trust and strengthening it even more than what I had before. And that's a wrap on another episode. If this one resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future conversations, and share it with someone else who's learning to trust herself again. You can connect with me on Instagram, Tash, where I share more about self-trust, personal growth, and human design. If you'd like to go deeper, you can explore my books and offerings, all designed to support you as you build self-trust and step into the next version of yourself with confidence. Until next time, please remember that you are not too much or too little. You're just you. Keep choosing yourself.